sunshine when she's gone. She's always gone too long. Anytime she goes away. Wonder this time when she's gone. Wonder if she's gonna stay. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. She's always gone too long. Anytime she goes away. Oh, I know.
Folks, welcome inside the Parisi Palace, high above 3773's Broadway. This is a live edition of the Jake Feinberg Show. Coming to you on Power Talk. Please go to our website, powertalk.live. Download our free app and stream all of our live local programming, including Solomon on Blast, the Jim Parisi Show, and yours truly, the Jake Feinberg Show. I can't thank you enough for making us part of your day today. And along the way on this People's History of Music, I get in touch with a lot of, with the cats that honestly who ultimately have created and laid the rhythmic foundation for melodic improvisation on the bandstand, be it blues, R&B, soul, funk. It's all music. And I get a chance today to talk to one of the cats, really a guy who's been doing it for the last half century. He's played with so many of the heaviest blues cats in the world, guys like Otis Clay and Mighty Joe Young and Memphis Slim and his brother Freddie King. Without further ado, Betty Turner, welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Hey, Jake. It's great to meet you at last. You know, it's been a long time. You know, my friend Zach Diamond, he speak about you highly. You know.
Well, yeah, well, I mean, you know, we're just becoming acquainted on Facebook, and so you're gonna see you're gonna see the kind of journalism that I'm doing on there, and I think you're gonna dig it a lot. But you know, I just wanted you to talk a little bit about in the lineage of music, you know, where you ultimately started from in your mind, like when you trace back the roots of your playing, who were the unsung cats that probably you learned the most from, and they haven't always reached the popular level? Yeah,
that one's easy. I have to say, you know, when my brother was getting his start, he was playing with a lot of guys around Chicago, and Holland Wolf took him in under his wing, and put him on one of his records, Spoonful. And Freddie came by my house and said, "Hey man, come on, go with me. He always come by when something's important. He think I'd be interested in, you know." And I was a young guy, I was still in school, and he took me over to where they were rehearsing, you know, for Spoonful. And I walked in, there's Willie Dixon and Hubert Sumlin, Holland Wolf, you know, drummer was sitting around, and so I sit by Wolf. And no, Dixon, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Wolf was in front of me. And Dixon was right over my shoulder with that, you know, with the bass fiddle, you know. And they counted it off, you know. Could be a spoonful of water. And Lord have mercy. Yeah, I said, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. You know, me and Freddie always dreamed of being musicians, you know. And Freddie was going to be a musician. Me, I wasn't just dreaming, you know, I'm just there. And hasn't really made up my mind yet, because I wanted to play basketball, you know, football, you know. And until I heard Willie Dixon pumping that bass over my shoulder, I said, this is it. And so it started then.
Well, this is important. Going back, I've been doing a lot of, I just did my third interview with Chuck Rainey, and that cat was, he got his first upright bass lesson from Richard Davis, and he was close with Mingus, but he never played the upright bass, and you know, and it took different muscles, but in your elbow all the way down to your wrists. But he
Yeah.
He started playing the Fender bass guitar, and then ultimately Percy Heath from the Modern Jazz Quartet, he played a bass fiddle too. I mean, can you talk about, did you pick up the bass fiddle? Was that your first bass?
No, I did not. I was always interested in it, and I played around with it. When I was like, we do gigs, and there's one in the corner, I pick it up and and see what I. But it's an instrument I probably couldn't master. It's different type dude to play those. For some, as coming from me, I'm strictly a Fender guy.
You're a Fender bass, and then
Yeah.
so and you never because this is the crux of it is this: you wanted to play sports, you and your brother wanted to be athletes, but the musicians that you were idolizing, that you were looking up to, they were not schooled musicians, and so
No.
at all, and yet
No.
So how did you develop? Can you just talk about an early time in your, even before your professional career, when you knew, or how you developed your own inner time feel on the electric bass? Because all those guys are playing on feel. I mean, they could change. They could play a
Yes.
different. The singer could start singing in a different key, and the rhythm section would have to go with it. The cats would have to play.
Yes.
I mean, this was not a formulaic, tight, sort of academically trained situation. This was raw stuff, and I'm just trying to figure out if you could talk to the audience about how you developed your time feel.
Well, when I first started to play the bass, believe it or not, I didn't know anything about it. And like most of music, we are not schooled. And not only was I not schooled, I didn't know nothing about it. And Freddie came by, and his bass player, he was ill, and Freddie said, "Come on, go with me. I want you to." His name is Robert Elam. Robert's sick. I need a bass player. I said, "I can't play bass." He said, "Come on." And so we went over to the Squeeze Club. That's where he was playing. And so Robert had this new Fender bass. So Freddie unlocked it and gave it to me. And he said, "Just follow me. And you just do the one string. Dun, 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 dun." And he knew I had timing, and he knew I could play a little guitar. And so I said, okay. And I sit in a chair, and then T.J. Minoff was the drummer. He said, "Just watch my foot. Watch my foot." We played together. And when I just play the bass, and on the same time as my bass drum. And I said, okay. So I was watching his foot pedal, and and I started to follow him on the one string bass, and so I was in the key of E, and all night long we played everything we did was in E. We could do a slow song, medium song, but it's all going to be in E. It's all going to be 12 bar. And so the next night, Freddie said, "Man, you did good. You did good." And I said, "You think so?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "We're going to play in G tonight." And so we moved up to G.
I did. You were learning. He was teaching you the scales one night at a time, man.
And so I said, okay, I'm game. And I, played in G, and then when I get ready to go to the 4, I went down to the C, and I got it. And I said, so each time we go up in a different position, it's all the same. He said, yeah. So, and we made it up to A, and then, by the end of the week, I was all the way up to C, and by this time, Robert Elam is coming back. I was, oh man, I'm excited now. Go play with town that knew that I had learned, and So Magic Sam's bass player, and have a either. So they would take the guitar and they would tune it an octave low. You know, the strings would be really loose, but it could sound almost like a. So he taught me how to play lightly on the guitar, you know, with the strings tuned an octave lower. And I got big hands and I'm heavy, and I would hit them, man. It'd be like rubber bands, you know. He said, "No, man, no. You got to play it light. You got to play it light." And so I went and watched him play Magic Sam. He was playing at Mills Hideaway, and and I watched Odell, and Odell had the lightest touch, you know. He could play that thing. So I learned to play that from Odell.
Okay, your cell phone your cell phone was intermittently cutting out. So who Odell Brown you talking about? Who are you talking about?
Odell, I think his last name was Campbell.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
yeah. I mean, you were talking about basically not only were you learning how to play on the bandstand, you were also learning dynamics as well. Dynamics were really important at that time.
Yes, it is. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You don't.
Yep, very much so.
I mean, can you explain at 39, my generation, younger generations, we got into this thing where the decibel level started at 10 and it never really went anywhere. It just stayed at the same dynamic range. And it's hurt music and the vocabulary of music, but was it the unamplified setting? That's how your ears grew. So you had to really stretch and hear what cats like Michael Kennedy might be playing on the trap set, what he was doing to feather the bass drum, what the other cats were playing, because it wasn't like every instrument had a mic to it. So I mean, how do you explain how you guys developed such great dynamics? Because that's what made the music burn so hard.
Yeah, I remember one time we were sitting down with B.B. King and the power went out. And DB said, I remember when we didn't even have amplifiers, you know. And so, you know, we like Freddie used to sit around, you know, like we were really comfortable because we sat around in the house, you know, and we played and we were just fine. We would get on the bandstand and we would do the same. But the main thing was the feel that we had, like you said, the dynamics, but the feel, and it was entertaining to us as well as the audience, and the audience played a big part in helping you along. You know, if you could see somebody pat feet, you know, well, we know we're on the right track. You know, but the main thing, as far as the dynamics and stuff, they're great, but we like to have fun also, you know. And one thing I did learn from Freddie King was have fun, you know. And you get on the stage, you have fun. You know, you make a mistake, man. So I never seen him looking around and say, "Hey, man, you made a mistake." He never did that. If somebody made a mistake, he'd turn around and laugh. What do you call that?
Yeah, I mean, this is important. You know? This is not. No, this is a very important thing because it rolls into like two different concepts. Is that not taking yourself too seriously on the bandstand, but also, can you talk about a time? I mean, like Miles Davis would say, there are no wrong notes, because if somebody plays the wrong note, you go with it. You know, you just go in.
Absolutely.
Can you talk about how? I mean, especially in modern day when you work with younger cats who are less secure about, because we were brought up with perfection, my generation, and now you can get everything down to the 0.01%. You can lock it in so tight or fix something if it doesn't. I mean, some singer could say, "How did I sound?" And the engineer said, "Terrible, we can fix it." You couldn't fix anything back then. So mistakes were actually gateways to incredible sonic expansion. Do you have is there a story you can share when either you went off the rails or made a mistake and everybody went with you and it turned into something that is legacy building?
Yeah, I can tell you when I forgot what I was playing. You know, it was we played about 5,000 people. I think we were in Florida or somewhere. I think Gainesville or somewhere there. And I was playing something that I had been playing for about maybe 4 or 5 years. And I, it is where the band stops. The band stops, and I pick it up. And I'm saying, I don't know what I was thinking about. I wasn't on it. And the band stopped, and it was time for me to play it, and I couldn't remember what it was. so Freddie looked back at me, like, wait, where's it at? Turned around, and then Freddie came back where I was, and he realized I forgot, And so he started to looking at me, telling me how it went, and his jaws started jumping up and down, and I started laughing. And he still waiting for me to hit this note, which I couldn't remember. Then all of a sudden it came to me. And then I started to play, and then it was the best thing of the night. People started clapping and yelling, "Yeah!" And it was, so we turned that into a positive, and that that were a little. We laughed about that for years, and Freddie, he on Spoonful, I think very last note he played on it was wrong, but it was still good, and that's about it.
So I mean, even on the recording of Spoonful, he played the wrong note, but it was left on the recording.
Yeah, like you say, you couldn't be fixed.
Couldn't be fixed.
Yeah, he's playing dun 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 dun. On the very end, he makes he loses his concentration, which you can tell, but it still fit. Like Miles Davis say, you can make a wrong note work.
Absolutely. Well, no, that's the thing that was revelatory to me too. And I'm curious. I mean, I hate to eat labels in music, but guys that went on to become great jazz musicians, Sonny Rollins, Tootie Heath, a cat like Julian Priester. I don't know if you ever crossed paths with Julian. He was playing, because he's from Chicago. He played with Muddy and those cats, but these guys wound up playing jazz. They wanted to play bebop. And were you guys also able? I mean, when I done over 1,000 interviews, and that was the sort of the thing was like, you guys had a bag of jazz tunes. You guys had a huge bag of tunes you could play. I mean, you could play jazz.
We could, because we had guys in the band that were jazz players, and around Chicago, if the jazz guys wanted to work, they had to come to us. It wasn't that many jazz clubs, for them. It was the Trocadero, and they didn't open until about 3 o'clock in the morning. That's after we get off work. Otherwise the horn players had to come play with us, and we picked up little jazz from them. His name's Al Block. He was in Freddie's band, in the early days, so he taught me a lot. He always wanted me to read, but I didn't know, I didn't have no ambition into reading. I was doing what I wanted to do, and I had a great feel, and I had all of the bass guys coming over to me, in maybe about 2 months after I started, wanting lessons, Calvin, I forget Calvin's last name. He played Buddy. He was coming over for bass lessons, and Burton, I forget his first name, Aaron Burton. He went out and bought a bass and came over for lessons from me.
So let me ask you. So just really, I love asking these questions to cats like you. Is talking to Benny Turner here on the Jake Feinberg Show. They weren't coming to you because you had a degree from Juilliard School of Music or something. But I want you to talk to cats out there today. And because my gut tells me the guys were coming for lessons for one reason, and that was because you knew how to make the notes round. How did you make the notes? How did you make the notes? How do you make the notes round, Benny?
Well, we had I still do it. We had a way of playing.
Yeah, you do still do it. You're still doing it, man.
I move my hand all the way in the back of the bass, all the way in the back. You know, where a string start at. You know, before they go to the tuners.
Sure.
And I use the back of my hand to control the tone of the bass while I play, and I use a pick, and between the two of them, you know, I'm able to get my notes, you know, but it's not like, you know, not having a mentor is, you know, something that I learned to do myself, and Freddie would do it too, and but that's how I do it, you know.
What is and I guess why is it important to create a round sound on the bass? Otherwise, if you don't get a round sound, then what is it? Why does that flat sound not resonate? And I'm just talking about as a non-musician in the audience listening to it. How does that roundness lead to transcendent burning music?
I really can't explain it. You know, I can't explain it. But it's just something that the bass players, you know, it's a natural. To me, it's natural. You know, and the bass notes and you know, right along with the bass drum, you know, they hit on the one, you know, it becomes a one, you know, and like James Brown said, the one, you know, and when the bass drum, you know, it becomes like you say, a round note, but it has to be done at the same time, you know.
Exactly. That's what I'm getting at, and that's the other thing you brought up. This is the other. James Jamerson used to say, you know, people would get frustrated. Where's the one? Where's the one? And he'd say, any note can be the one. Any note can be the one.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that concept as well? Especially in the old. A lot of people say, "What are you talking about?" But the idea, you know, but these are really important concepts in order. This is why the music burned. I mean, again, machines have, you know, there were no machines either, but but what is Benny Turner's concept of the idea of that any note can be the one?
Is where you start at, you know, from is the one, you know, two. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, you know, that is the one. And then you go down, and the one coming up right now is the most important. You know, and a lot of drummers haven't learned, believe it, haven't learned to come out of that turnaround and come right down on the one. You know, one, two, you know.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Why? And so I mean, why have drummers been unable to do that?
They can do it, but they don't think that way. I don't know. They haven't been taught that one coming out of the 5 is probably one of the most important notes that you play, because that sets up the next 12 bars, you know. and you have to come back down on that one. And if you don't, it don't, it falls apart. You know.
This is interesting stuff. I mean, when you were in Chicago, was that the first time that you linked up with Phil Upchurch?
In Chicago, yes. I met Phil Upchurch through D. Clark. And D. Clark, you want me to talk a little bit about that?
Well, I mean, Phil, I've done 2 interviews with Phil, but I just wanted to, Phil basically was one of the only cats that, actually besides Eric Gale, he was one of the only cats that played the lead electric guitar and the lead Fender and Fender bass. But I know you guys had a band together, so I mean, I've interviewed Cash McCall and Ahmad Jamal and all those cats. So riff on how you met, because Phil used to go down to Market Street and hang with those blind dobro players on Market Street and whatever. He was Phil was a burning, but you had a band with him.
Yeah, we played together with D. Clark.
D. Clark.
And met him. Yeah, D. Clark. He had, I think at the time he had a record, Hey Little Girl in the High School Sweater. And I think that was his big hit at the time. Oh, I don't want nobody else but you. He had that hit. And I met him at Walton's Corner. When you say lesser known blues players, was Bobby King. And I was playing with him, and D came in the bar, and he liked me. And we went out and he had a bottle of scotch, and he passed me the bottle, and he drank out the bottle. And how would you like to go on the road with me? You know, I said, I think I'd like it. You know, and so he said, look, we're going to talk about this thing, you know. So next day, he got me in his car and he drove me to meet Phil Upchurch. And we went and we talked and hired me, you know. And we said, well, he can play that, but he's not a jazz player. I said, no. He said, well, I'm not a jazz singer, you know. And so he said, I'm going to hire me. So he hired me, and we left Chicago and we ended up at the Apollo Theater, you know. And played the theater, and I learned a lot of things from Phil. You know, we got to be really good friends, you know. And you say bass playing, yeah, he played great. He played on
Staple Singers.
Yeah, and boom, 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 boom. He played bass on that, you know, and he would use my bass sometime, you know, to do sessions in Chicago. And guitar, you can switch to guitar. I think Phil's one of the greatest guitar players that I know.
Well, I mean, can you talk about a couple of things that he showed you on the bass to help stretch you out?
Well, doing D's music, you know, he taught me more how to play, and you know, do that, you know, the change. Especially with Raindrops. You know, you remember Raindrops? Oh, Raindrops. You know, there's some pretty nice changes in that song. You know, he taught me those. And then he also taught me to play it on the guitar.
Really?
And I learned to play it. And then he took off, because Phil had a hit called, what was it called? Can't Sit Down. And he went to follow it, and I switched from bass to guitar, and I played guitar with D. Clark, thanks to Phil. Phil trained me how to play those songs. You know?
Wow! Who was playing traps?
Tracks?
No, who's playing drums?
Oh, I'm sorry. We picked up the drum. Whatever drummer was. You know, whatever time we went in, they always had a band waiting, and then D did have a band at the beginning, and with Cornell Mondro and Phil and the guys. But I never played in that band. When I played with D. Clark, it was only the three of us.
There was,
But
it was,
this
it
is
was,
important.
you're talking, so can you talk, this is the other thing. Okay, so how do you keep time? Talk to peeps out there who I mean, I am doing a film documentary on Stan Getz, and Stan Getz in the early 50s was, I mean, there's an album that came out with, it was Oscar Peterson, Ray Brown, Herb Ellis, and Stan Getz. It was a drummerless quartet. And you guys were in a drummerless trio with D. Clark. Is that right?
Not really. We had drums, but it would be a drummer that was in like sometimes we carry a drum, but sometimes we went without drums. But there would be a drummer who knew all of the stuff that we did in the town that we went in.
Do you remember, like at the Apollo, who the cats were? I mean, this is unbelievable because I'm sure they were jazz drummers. I mean, you know, this is like unbelievable. Do you remember any of the cats that used to just sit, or one cat that
band had about, I don't know, 15, 20 pieces, and it was Reuben Phillips, and those guys would be readers, and I couldn't read a lick. Conducting, you know, and had good fun doing it too. And the drummer that he had was really good, but you know, I didn't know his name or anything. You know, we played with him like 2-3 shows a day and for about 7 days, but I didn't know him. And we did pick up one drummer to go with the trio. His name was Davis. I think he changed his name. And we were, Dee and Jerry Butler was touring together, and Bobby Scott, who was the drummer, who had the drummer and the other pieces, was going to play with us that night, didn't show up. And to me, it was one of the best nights. So we had Curtis Mayfield, Philip Church, and Leo Morris on the drum, and then I'm on the bass. And that was the band.
wait. Hold on.
Okay.
Was this after the Impressions? Like he was on his own at that point?
No, it was before.
Before the Impressions?
Yeah, before he was playing with Jerry Butler.
Okay, so he was playing like Phil was playing lead, Curtis was playing rhythm, you were playing bass, and then you had a drum,
yeah.
Where are the tapes of that?
Yeah.
where are the tapes of that?
That was the greatest night for me.
Why? Tell me why it was so ecstatic for you. Really, I mean, maybe it's obvious to you, but honestly, that is, and you're putting this at about what, 1966? I mean, when is this?
I think it had to be early on, 61, 62.
61.
62, yeah.
Oh my gosh, 60. That is insane. Mayfield.
See, Curtis. I don't mean cut you off, but Curtis had this weird way of playing, and next time I talk to Phil, I'm gonna ask Phil if he got Curtis tune his guitar, because he had this weird sound, and then Phil had this great jazzy type sound, you know, and you know the two together was great. And then Leo Morris on the drum, you know, and it was a great night.
Well, wait. Hold on. You're talking about you just dropped Leo Morris.
Yeah, Leo Morris.
Okay, that for the most cats, they know him as Idris Muhammad.
That's him. That's the name. Yes.
Idris.
Yes.
I cannot.
Thank you.
Are you kidding me? I mean, this is unbelievable band.
Yeah, I tell you, it was like one of my best nights. I said, man, look at these cats. You know, like I'm standing here playing with these guys. You know, I can't believe it. You know, I will never forget it. I will never forget it.
Because Leo was combining that New Orleans rhythm with the blues, and then obviously Curtis.
Yes, sir.
Curtis and Phil had their own. I mean, that to me is astounding stuff. And so can you talk about your experience playing on the Chitlin circuit? I mean, where was that circuit from Chicago? Did you go down into the South, and what was your experience like on the Chitlin circuit with any of the group? Could have been your brother or anybody.
I did most of the Chitlin circuit with Freddie King, and we bumped into Jimmy Reed a lot of times, and
John Lee Hooker.
It wasn't okay. John Lee. Yes, I played bass with John Lee Hooker.
You play bass with John Lee Hooker. This is on. Were you playing? I mean, what was the vibe like in these? I mean, I interviewed Charles Neville over the weekend, and he was in a band. I'm just going to bring this up here because it's important. He was in a band. Let me look here. It was with Gene Franklin and the House Rockers, and so he would go to. I'm just going to read off some of these clubs here. In New Orleans, obviously, there was the Dewdrop Inn. Memphis, Sunbeam Mitchell's Club Handy on Beale and Hernando. In Alabama, in Mobile, there was a place called Big Rose, ROE. In St. Petersburg's Jack's Fiesta Club. Obviously, there was jazz places in New York. What were can you paint the picture of what the venues look like in these where you would wind up going with your brother? Were the floorboards coming out? People were dancing. Can you talk a little bit about the social component to the Chitlin Circuit venues that you were playing?
Well, there was two kinds. Like you said, the ones say in Mississippi, I can't remember them now because it's been so long ago, that you would play, and it would be probably almost in the backwoods, but not really, but close. And they'll have a jukebox, and they, of course, would be drinking, and fights usually break out. And, and like Willie Dixon said, the sawdust on the floor, and he wasn't kidding about that.
Right. Well, I mean, also was not personally for you, but what was interesting to me was that in white America, cocaine became very prevalent in the 70s, but Charles said that cocaine was very popular in the 60s amongst the black community in those clubs.
Not where I went, we didn't, there wasn't even marijuana, in where we played.
Really? Because there was like Memphis. I have this great, it was champion Jack Dupree, and doing this song Junkers Blues. So marijuana was not prevalent either. I mean, these were teetotaler kind of places, or I can't imagine that.
Yeah, no, I never came into contact with it. We played. They were drinkers. And nobody ever offered me, or I never smelled it or anything. And come to think of it, I think it might be kind of odd, but no, we never did. And I went through Mississippi, down through Texas. We never come up to Memphis, up that way. We come through New Orleans. We played, but that was in the 70s when we played with Allman Brothers when they were all alive, Dwayne and his brother, and we had it then. But back in like 63, 64, no, we didn't know anything. We knew about it, but we never, nobody was in the club smoking it or anything.
When you got on tour with the Almonds, though, that there was definitely some marijuana there, or
Yes, sir. That I decided to try it myself, and that's how I forgot that note that Freddie wanted me to play. So, I'm not, I'm not, I admit it, but I'm not a marijuana smoker.
No,
But,
no. This is it was revelatory because
yeah.
Really, you would have when was the first time you got to play in New York City? Did you guys get over to? And what clubs were you playing? You weren't playing like Minton's or Small's Paradise. Those were more jazz organ kind of. But you had organ in your band. So I'm trying to figure out like where. This is why it's so great to connect with you, because I'm trying to figure out where you guys actually were. What kind of club? Where were the clubs you were playing at, like in New York?
Well, we played one around the village, close to there. The Bottom Line was one of the cool clubs, and they had the Lone Star, and a club called that was one in the Bronx. Yeah, you remember Mickey Baker?
Yeah.
Mickey Baker. He ran the club, and that's why King Curtis.
Right.
King Curtis got to be friends with her. I think it was called. I can't remember.
It's okay.
The name of the club.
Let's give your mind a rest. We've been cooking here for 42 minutes already, and let's put in a piece of music here and come back and break it down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
Music on the Jake Feinberg Show, brought to you by the Jewish Community Center of Southern Arizona, the Jewish Federation of Southern Arizona, Abbott Taylor Jewelers, and Craig Pretzinger of Allstate Insurance. And we thank them so much for their support so we can play tunes like that. From my man Benny Turner, do you know what that is?
Palace of the King?
That's right. Well, that was a live performance, 1973, Freddie King. Live from France with Benny.
Okay, yeah.
Benny Turner on bass, David Maxwell on piano, Charles Myers on drums. The cat I wanted you to talk about, though, is Deacon Jones. Please tell me about Deacon, because I know that in this case he wasn't kicking pedals because you're laying the groove, you're locking the groove on the bass. But was that could that cat kick pedals?
No, it didn't. Yeah, he didn't even. He only used his right hand.
He never used his left hand.
He never used his left hand.
Tell me the.
He was always drawing bars out, pushing bars and drawing bars, and pointing the thing up in the air. You know.
Oh my God! So he was pulling bar hand. He was just pulling bars out of the B3 with his left hand. He was just playing melody. This did he recently? Is Deacon still with us, or did he leave us?
No, he passed away. He passed away, and he was actually supposed to be playing. He was supposed to play with me at Antone's and Ann Arbor, and he passed away just before that. About a month now, maybe more. I was out there. I went out there. I went out there and had a little chat with him before he died. After I learned he was sick, you know. So yes, he passed away.
Can you talk about his legacy to music and what a lot of people may not know about him as far as a player and a person?
Deacon, I got Deacon from Curtis Mayfield, and was working. Curtis had a label called Curtom.
Sure.
Curtom.
Yeah.
And Deacon was, you know, like if Curtis write a song like was it Freddie's Dead, you know, and so Deacon would write the charts, you know, and this is what he was doing, you know, and so I don't know how it happened. Me and my brother Bobby was going to try to get on Curtom Records, and we ran into Deacon and learned that he played the organ. He was, you know, and our group was called Operation Soul at the time. So he sat in with us, and not only was he was a good organ player, great organ player, but he kept everybody laughing, you know, and they're happy, and that's just, to me, is just as important, you know. And so we played around. Curtis wrote us a song, but he ended up doing the song himself. I guess he liked it, you know. But they did hire us to play for the Impressions, you know. And
so this is important. I mean, this is because, I mean, you were the rhythm section on the Impressions albums before. No, just on the road. On the road.
And it was a short time, you know. We went out with them. In my book, Deacon explains what happened, and we went to West Point, and Curtis was late, and they asked us to go on. Said, "Can y'all go on and do something?" We all looked at each other, and you know, we were a self-contained band. We sang everything, you know. And so we went on, and when we left the stage, we got a standing ovation from all of the cadets. And this wasn't good. So we didn't know. You know, we didn't know we wasn't supposed to be good. And so we went back to the dressing room, and then when the manager came and said, "That's it, baby." We said, "We ready to go?" He said, No, that's it." We said, "Are we leaving now?" He said, "No, you don't understand. That's it. Y'all fired." So we got fired for being good. So we left that.
Just to be clear, Curtis never showed up for the gig, and you guys just played instrumental stuff, or
no, he showed up, but he showed up late.
Oh boy! And then that was it.
But and then we had to go out and save the show because they couldn't hit on time. So we went out, you know, Operation Struggle. And so we got fired, and we went back with our tails between our legs, you know. Like, how can you be fired for being good, you know?
Right.
And then we got back, you know, to Chicago, and Deacon stayed with us. And so we played around a while until I got a call from Freddie, wanted me to come to Texas and join him again. This is like 69, last of 69. So I said, okay, and then I played with him, and he decided he wanted to change his band around. And I said, and then I pulled Operation Soul in, which consists of Charlie Robinson, David Maxwell, who's killer blues piano player. This is from Boston, and myself and Deacon. Yeah, and I pulled him into the blues, and that was the beginning of Deacon Jones right there. And I pulled him to Freddie King band, and he took a liking to him right away because he could play poker. Freddie loved to play poker, and I played poker, and we're the Three Musketeers. Boy, nobody could beat us on the road. And Grand Funk. No, did you know Grand Funk Railroad?
Dude, I interviewed Mark Farner. I love Mark Farner. Yeah, dude. Tell me about Grand Funk, dude.
It was a Grand Funk. We toured with him about 30 days, and when the tour was over, they played poker with us all the way. And they loved this band. And so they wrote this tune, American Band, which is Up All Night with Freddie King.
Wow.
I got to tell you that poker's his thing. And the last, and they say Little Rock. They wrote about the tour. It's like Little Rock, But anyway, we played that. Our last game that we played with Grand Funk was in Little Rock. And of course, we beat them. We let them call their own game. I think they introduced us to low hole poker. Lowest card you got down is wild.
So the name of the tune that they wrote was "We're an American Band."
Yes, sir.
Oh,
that was about Freddie King. Yes, that was about that tour. Yeah.
Okay, here it is. I'm gonna read the lyric. You can sing it if you want later. I'm gonna say, out on the road for 40 days last night in Little Rock. Put me in a haze. Sweet Connie doing her act. She had the whole show, and that's a natural fact. Up all night with Freddie King. I got to tell you, poker's his thing. Booze and ladies keep me right as long as we can make it to the show tonight. I mean, that's just the opening. I love it, man.
Yeah, it was one of the most fun tours that I was ever on. Those guys are really, really nice. They're down to earth. I love them.
I got to be honest. Mark Farner we did a Cosmic interview about a year ago, and I got to reach out to him again. He's really a sweetheart and just a straight ahead dude. I couldn't think of asking a better person than you. I mean, so many clips on YouTube with you and your brother live from France, live from Antibes, Clapton and your brother, so many of the cats that we were talking about, Howlin' Wolf and Muddy and so many of these guys were not recognized in this country. They became popular because when the Creams and the Claptons and the Beatles came over, they were saying, well, what are you listening to? And they said, these cats. But Grand Funk was an American band, and they recognized your genius. Does America get a bad rap for underappreciating its own blues talent, or is it true that without the British invasion, there really wouldn't have been an opportunity for a lot of the legendary blues cats to ever get any kind of individual status?
Yes to both questions.
Yes to both questions. Okay, explain.
Yeah. We would play here and say do a festival, or and people, they like you. When we go to Europe, they worship you. They worship. They want to know. They go back in your history. They sit down and they don't miss. They mesmerize. It's what it used to be. I haven't played Europe in a long time, but when we went, they worshiped you. Americans enjoy, but these Europeans worship.
These cats would be banging on your hotel door at like 3 a.m. to get access to you.
They would if they could. They would if they could. You know, like, I remember. I'll tell you one little story. You know, have you ever heard of an Irish guy named Henry McCulloch?
No, but go ahead.
Henry McCulloch.
Yeah.
He played with a band called the Grease Band. You ever heard the Grease Band? They played
Sure.
with Joe Cocker.
Sure.
He later played with McCartney. He broke his arm because the guy spit and crossed in front of me and Freddie as we was walking, and he considered it an insult, and he hit the guy so hard he broke his hand. And he was on tour with us, and he had to play with a cast on. You know, that's how these guys feel. You know, about the old blues guys. You know, they love them. You know.
I'm sorry. You have to explain that. I didn't follow that story. What happened exactly? Why did somebody get their hand busted?
Okay, but I go again. Me and Fred was walking down the sidewalk, and somebody spit and crossed in front of us. And Henry McCulloch was there, and he considered it an insult, and he hit the guy and broke his hand. Henry broke his own arm hitting the guy. He hit him so hard.
Hit him in the face, and he broke his arm.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
And this was in Europe or in the States?
This was in Europe. It was in Europe.
Wow.
It was in Europe, and it was an insult. You know, they love the old blues guys. You know, and he said, "No, he said, no, man, no, you didn't. No, man, you don't do that, man. You know, you don't do that." And they had to take him to the hospital and they put a cast on his hand, and then he had to play. They didn't let him off because he broke his hand. He still had to play. You know?
Everybody helped him out. But everybody, you know, his heart was in the. I mean, what is? Can you talk about? I actually almost feel like when you grew up, coming up in Chicago, Chicago had its own sound. Detroit had its own sound. San Francisco and L.A., the jazz sounds were different. New Orleans had their own sound. Miami, Atlanta.
Yeah.
Is New Orleans at this point, with full interconnection, the last regional sound, the last regional area of sound in this country? Being that you live down there, is there another place that I'm missing? I'm not talking about Austin or the flyover towns like Tucson where I am. I'm just talking about in general. We've all become interconnected. Labels have stratified music. But there was a shuffle. I mean, you did Texas Cannonball. I mean, there was the Texas. You had different shuffles coming out of different places. Gulf Coast sound. Okay. I mean, is New Orleans? Are there any other places in this country, United States, that has its own regional sound outside of New Orleans?
You know, I don't think so. I really don't think so. You know. You know, last I heard, you know, it was a muscle shows. You know, like. These guys, they were killer. You know, they got their thing. But I had to say, New Orleans. You know, yeah, I would have to say yes. New Orleans, yes. I have to agree, yeah.
And how would you define that sound today? I mean, is it a combination of the second line marching band shuffle?
Yeah.
But what else? What
Yes,
else?
sir.
What else is in there? The Mardi Gras Indian, the blue. How would you describe that sound?
It's. I wouldn't say blues. I wouldn't say blues. It's a. You know, they lean more to drums. You know, it's a drum thing. You know, and I think it always has been. But
What's a drum thing mean? Tell me about the drum thing.
Like that. Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
I dig.
Yeah. But nobody in the country plays that. You know, if they play it, they copied it from somebody down here. You know, but you know, I played with the Wild Magnolias here. That's the beat. You know. And you say you interviewed one of the Neville brothers, you know, that they play it too, you know.
Hold on, you played with Bo Dallas?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
You talk about that experience?
great, great. When he had, I mean, you know, he had a when he was happy. You know, when he come out on the stage, he's happy. You know, and I think that's one of the things was good about Bo. Bo came out and had fun all the way, all the way up until he retired. You know, and the guys that played with him and Honey and Geechee, on the big bass drum, and they come out. It's fun, and I have to mention. I want to mention that I'm teaming up with them. They're doing a reunion here next week.
Yeah, that's so beautiful because I talked to Bo Dallas Jr. and he mentioned there was a reunion going on.
Yeah, I'm going to be on it with them. Mm-hmm.
And so what are from the original? Like Alfred Roberts was playing percussion. I'm trying to figure out who else was in that rhythm section when you played with the Wild Magnolias, because there was a very special original blend of the Native American chanting and the call response of the and I'm just curious about who else played in that. Who out of the originals? Who else is going to be playing in that reunion with you?
I don't know at this time because I haven't talked to Bo Dallas Jr. about that. But I know one guy's going to be there. It's Geechee.
Who's Geechee? Who's Geechee?
I don't know his full name. We just only call him Geechee. And he's kind of more like the leader of the rhythm section. We all follow him.
And he's
maybe Johnson.
And he's not playing a full trap set. He's playing a bass drum.
Just one. It's just a bass drum. He set it on a stand, and he get two mallets. And and then everybody falls in and follow him. And it's quite a deal. I know if you're down here, you should come to it, but but it's a long ways from you.
No, I mean I'm gonna come hang with you, man. I mean this is you are blowing my. Did you know Monk Higgins?
Yeah, Monk Higgins produced when I was trying to sing. My early days on Wonderful Records. Monk Higgins produced all three of those 45s I did.
All right, let's break that down right now because Monk is my man. And what was the name? It was Wonderful Spinorama. What was the name of the record company? There was a recording studio.
Wonderful Records. They had a distributor called United Distributors.
Sure.
And they decided to go and make records, and so they named it Wonderful Records and Impact. Wonderful Records and Impact Records, and they did them both. And Monk
seduced
arranged, you. Yeah, on about three of those old 45s I did. I'm not, they're okay, they really didn't know what I was doing back then, but I wanted to make a record, and so Monk helped me.
Can we get the name? So you're the leader on these 45s?
Yes, sir.
And can you tell me what are the names of the tunes?
When I'm Gone is named one of them. Angel is one.
Angel?
And Angel. Yeah, I can't remember the others. I'll have Sally, my manager, give you the names. If you'd like a copy, I'll give them to you.
Oh my God! I mean, well, this is really important because Upchurch showed up with Cash McCall, and Monk was like, I mean, can you talk about how did you go in there? I know there was one thing where Cash went in with his family or with his sisters and brothers, and they had a band, and Cash was not a singer, but when they got into the studio, his brother was the singer, but his brother froze up and got nervous. So Monk was, forget this, and they were about to lose the session, and Cash was like, forget it, I'm just going to step up and sing. And he sang.
Yeah.
And that's how he got his break, So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how did Monk even discover you?
Through Georgelina. Yeah, Monk was the arranger for anybody that came in. Like, like whoever Georgelina said, I want to record this guy. So Monk was the guy to go in and arrange everything. And he actually worked for the record company. And that was his job, And they also had a guy there that did make a pretty good record. His name was McKinley Mitchell. And his record sold quite a bit, much more than mine did,
Well, let's
Monk,
let this is a modest cat we're talking to here, Benny Turner. Why don't you settle in for a minute and take a listen to this, and we'll come back and break it down, okay?
Okay.
You're going to miss me. You're gonna miss me. You're gonna miss me. All of my loving, all of my hugging when I'm gone. When I'm gone. You're gonna toss, you're gonna turn, you're gonna scream, and you yearn. You'll be missing my loving and all my hugging when I'm gone. When I'm gone.
Remember when we strolled through the park?
We were holding hands and kissing in the dark. You leaned real close and I said that I love you. Did you forget? Did you forget? You gonna miss me. You're gonna miss me.
Serendipity reigns supreme here on the Jake Feinberg Show. Welcome back inside the studios here, Power Talk 1210. Benny Turner, When I'm Gone, 1962 on. And just for the audience's information, it's wonderful, but it's not. It's one like the number one dash DERFUL. Benny Turner, welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show, man. That is a sweet tune, man.
Yeah, how did you find that?
Hey, man.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
Well, that's all right. That don't have no answer.
It's on. No, you know what? It's on YouTube.
Well,
It's on YouTube.
It is?
Oh yeah.
Okay, let me give you the personnel here. You ain't gonna believe this.
I want to hear it.
Okay. Dun, 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 on the piano, that's Monk Higgins.
Monk is. I knew. Monk is looking down on. Monk is looking down on this interview right now, man, dude. Monk because Monk. Okay, so Monk was on piano. Continue.
He was on piano. Philip Church playing the guitar.
Of course. I love it.
And Al Duncan, who played on all Jerry Butler's songs on VJ. He's playing the drums.
Al Duncan.
Al Duncan, yeah.
He had that was a funky little shuffle beat. I don't know what he was playing, but that was really cool looking, cool feel.
It's the same. You listen to Jerry Butler's tunes, that have that flow, that beat. Right there, and you listen, he's playing the same beat on every one of them.
I got to tell you, I mean, just that tune by Benny Turner far surpassed anything I've ever heard from Jerry Butler. Not to take anything away from that cat, because he was. I mean, dude, that just blew my mind, dude. That was 62. Yeah. That was 62. That was before the Beatles, man. I mean,
Yeah,
you had
I
a
was,
really good voice. Who the heck cares that didn't sell that well? Who the heck cares?
no, it's sold, but it's not as much as McKinley Mitchell. But it's selling now, I think, for about $25.
Oh, dude.
That's
I mean, dude, I guarantee you that 45. I'm going to look up the price. I bet it's much more than that. No, but I mean, you had aspirations. Truly, you had aspirations to be a singer, though.
I sure did. I wanted to. And you listen to it now. I haven't heard it, in years. But it sounds pretty good.
Dude, sounds amazing, dude. It sounds great. So, I mean, could you, in being that there was such regional radio going on, could you talk about the first time that you actually heard your record on the radio?
Yeah, it was. I was in Florida. Me and D. Clark was in Florida, and I was out talking to George Rhodes. It was Sammy Davis conductor. He played the piano, I think, to Sammy Davis Jr. And we were out talking, and then the records on the radio. And I turned around, I went inside, and it was playing. Yeah. And I think at that same hotel is where I met. Let's straighten it out. What's his name? Let's straighten it out. I can't remember his name, but I just sing him again. And I was in Mississippi when I got my award, Lifetime Blues Award. He was there. But anyway, yeah, that's where I was in Miami. And it was quite a thrill. Quite a thrill.
Right. I mean, and where was your brother at that point in his career?
He was doing the children's circuit, and we actually with D. Clark, when Hideaway came out, he started touring, and then they booked him on the same tour with D. Clark, and I was able to play with Freddie and D. Clark. And that was it couldn't get any better than that. I'm playing with my regular gig and I'm playing with my brother who I love.
Well, Benny Turner. I mean, the good times just continue to roll. Settle in here. We just found another nugget here. Why don't you just settle back in and we'll just continue the good times roll. Hold on one second.
Okay.
I'm sitting here crying since you've been gone. I was so broken hearted when you went back home. So darling, please come back where you belong. I often sit wondering, what did I do wrong? I know I broke your heart, my dear, or I wouldn't be singing this song. So darling, please come back where you belong. Cold is the wind, and lonely I've been. If I had one wish and it would come true, I'd wish for you to come back home. So darling, please come back where you belong. Cold, 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 cold.
I mean, it's getting better all the time. I mean, this is church on a beautiful guitar solo. I mean, you were clearly. I mean, here's the reality. I want you to paint this picture. I mean, was this before High Records? Because that Northern Soul, like, was Syl Johnson on the radar? Was Otis Clay doing his thing? at that point? Like this to me, you were way out in front. I mean, this sounds like Chicago. I mean, this could have been, you know, could have been anyone, Sam Cooke, Ray Charles, or anybody of those cats. But I mean, did this predate that High record label? I know the High record label was Memphis, but did that predate? Did what you were doing predate the Syl Johnsons and the Otis Clays?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah,
Wow.
it did. It did. I'm bad at dates. You know, I was just telling Sally, my manager, I said, I'm not really good at dates. You know.
Well, that doesn't. Yeah, that doesn't.
But,
yeah.
Yeah, but I think it did predate that.
I mean,
yes.
it's 62.
Yeah.
It was 1962.
Yeah, I think that was after. You know, I did a stretch with the Soul Stars too.
You did.
And yeah. I think that was after the Soul Stars. I believe. I'm not sure.
That was, just for the record, that was another 45. Benny Turner, Come Back Home. Everything is about romance and women and dancing. I mean, it's just hip. I mean, we are uncovering a side. You still. I mean, we came in. We let in with. There's a Bill Withers tune, Ain't No Sunshine. So you're still singing. What is your advice to younger cats today about finding their own? I'm talking about singing voice. They don't have as many live opportunities as you did coming up. I mean, you could be on the bandstand 6-7 nights a week for a month at a time at the same place. So, what's your advice to younger cats about how they should find their own? How they should seek to find their own individual sound or their own individual voice?
Worst thing they can do is try to sing like somebody. You know, you got to find your own spot. You know, whatever it is. Like Wolf say, you find it. You know, you ain't gonna please everybody, but you play your donkey off for the folks you please. You know, and I never forgot that. You know, and you know, the worst thing you can do is copy. You don't want to do that. You know, you can, you know, respect a guy's style or whatever, you know, but you gotta find your own. You know, you're lucky. If you find your own thing, then you like it.
Who did you borrow from in order to find? I mean, everybody has to borrow, beg, or steal a little bit, and then they find their own, and then they do their own thing. So who were you, singing wise?
My brother.
Yeah.
My brother. Not at the beginning. At the beginning, I liked D. Clark. You know, I loved D. Clark. He was one hell of a singer, and like he sounded like Clyde McFadden. You know, and he laughed. They had the same kind of voice. You know. But after I sat down and thought, and I said, I'm more comfortable, you know, going back to my family. You know, remembering my uncles. And Freddie picked that up, and I'm really comfortable there. You know.
Oh, I dig. I no, 100%. I mean, this is like the lineage is interesting. I mean, when Monk discovered you, though, were you channeling D more than your family at that point? When we hear these,
yes, sir, yes,
wow.
Yes, I was. I was channeling what was happening at the time. You know, like whatever, you know, we had, you know, wherever the music was going at the time. And D was part of that, you know.
Did you? We've been cooking here for 80 minutes, and I'd love to do set 2 with you in a little while, you know, down the road when you have time. But I just wanted to ask you: did you know the cat? He's like Monk. He's been on this journey with me. Is Richard Evans? Did you know Richard?
No, I did not.
He was an upright bass player for.
No.
Did you ever record at Cadet Chess at all, or was that a place you ever recorded
at? Not that much. I think the last thing I did at Chess was with Gene Bodge, their Daddy G.
Yeah, dude. I mean, Gene. I talked to Gene ages ago, and then I never was able to hook up for an interview. I guess what I'm saying is your discography on All Music is pretty all over the place with a lot of reissued stuff. Like coming out in the late 80s and 90s that actually was going on in the 70s. But for my own personal, information, did you become a studio shark for Kurt Tom? Did you play with Leroy Hudson in the studio? Were you on
No,
any other soul albums like on the Kurt Tom label or anything like that?
no, I was not. No, I wasn't in the studio that much, but I did go. I went in with Gene Barge. That was a record. I forgot to ask Gene what the name of that album I did with him. It was me, Gene Barge, and Maurice White from the Earth, Wind and Fire.
Are you kidding me, dude? They were originally called the Salty Peppers. That was the original name of the band.
Really?
Ramsey Lewis told me that. So it was Maurice.
Oh, wow.
So, but you sang with Otis Clay.
Yeah, me and Otis, we have a gospel background, and so me and Otis been friends for almost from the start, and we ended up making a hit gospel, When the Gates Swing Open. And
oh my God, I cannot believe you're dropping this. This is dude, you are the most modest, humble dude how did that come up? When did you first connect with him?
To do that song,
I mean, just in general.
in general.
I mean, did you in the Sanctified Church, or when did you first connect?
Well, he sang with a group called the Nightingales, and I sang with a group called the Conde Shepherds, and they're gospel groups, and we were rivals in the early days. This was in the 50s, and 58, 57, something like that. And so he crossed over into the blues, but we still had our chops. We love gospel. And I was playing Billy Mulligans with Mighty Joe Young.
Sure.
And he was playing in a place called, I think, the High Chaparral Black Club on the South Side. And I sent a message from another guy all the way to that High Chaparral, said, Otis, let's go to the studio. Otis sent me a message back, said, okay, man, when you want to do it? And so we went into PS Studios, Paul Serrano. And I used to sing with Soul Stirrers, and so he picked When the Game Swing Open, because I played with the Soul Stirrers, And so I played the guitar on it, I played the bass on it, I sung the tenor, and I sung the bass. I did 4 parts on that record.
Well, let's let the audience worldwide listening to this enjoy this right now.
Okay.
Here we go.
Okay.
Through the years, I keep on toiling. Lord, I'm toiling through the storm and rain. Oh, I'm patiently waiting and watching for the Savior to come again. And oh, I'm coming home, Lord. Every day I keep trusting in your word. And Lord, keep me every day of my life. Oh, hide me in your love. When it's all over, I want you to write my name above. Lord, when the gates swing open, I'll make you better down today. Oh, and here's what I say when I'm all by myself. Lord, teach me love, my friend. Lord, fill me with your Holy Spirit until the Savior. I'm waiting on Jesus to come again. Oh, I need your love. Please, Lord. Oh, when it's all over, I want you to write my name above. Oh, when the gates swing open. Oh, Father, I heard a soldier say these words. Lord, I'm tired, and my soul needs resting. Lord, I'm so tired of being abused, God. Friends talk about me, and my enemies misuse me. I keep marching on until you come and carry me home. Oh, I need your love. Father, when it's all over, please write my name above. And oh, when the gates swing open, oh, when Father, I may be burning down. Oh, when the gates swing open. Father, I hope you'll be waiting there to meet me that morning with arms wide open. Hey! I said, welcome home. I know you had a hard time. Come on. You can rest from all of your leave. Come on home. Thank you. Thank you, Father.
This is the Jake Feinberg Show on Power Talk Live with Benny Turner. Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable with Otis Clay. Just beautiful stuff.
Ain't that something?
I mean, I'm bringing tears. It's
we
not
love-
even Sunday yet. And I'm crying listening to it. And he left us over a year ago, man. But that was the first that I don't even. I guess we'll just pick this up in part 2 because I do want to talk about the Sanctified Church and the rhythms that came out of there. But before I leave you in set 1 here, Mr. Turner, is if you could just talk about your concept of love and how you bring love to this world.
I put my heart in everything I do. You know, I wrote a song, and I've been trying to get people to play the song. It's called "What's Wrong with the World Today," and that tells it right there. If you can ever get to listen to that tune, that speaks, how I feel.
Well, okay, but it just and if you can put it in words, what was right, or what were you trying to get at with Otis and Curtis and Church and all these cats that's different today?
You mean?
I mean, you said what's wrong with the world today, meaning that there was something right about it when you were coming up, and what is?
Yeah, well, everybody everybody seems to be upset. Somebody's mad about this, somebody's mad about this. Here's a guy who wants to send a bomb to America. And somebody wants to break down statues, and people just not satisfied.
Right.
And then we got guys shooting guys. My my grandson is a police chief. And somebody just is that one of his officers had to shoot a guy off of him. He had to shoot guys because they were going to attack him. That's what I mean. In my day when we were coming up, we wouldn't bother with nothing like that. And we could walk out and leave our doors open, our car doors open. And at the end of the song, I said, we need some love here. Remember the old days. Remember the peace and love. And that's we need that. We need to bring that back. We're losing it.
I love you, Benny Turner, man. I mean, the 90-minute. We just cooked for 90 minutes, man. I absolutely had a total ball with you, man. I hope you had a great time, and
I did too.
And
wonderful time.
I'll be transcribing some of these stories and blasting them out on Facebook, and let's just stay in touch and plan to do time to do part 2. And
well, put Santana down for part 2.
Say again.
I said, put Santana down for part 2. I love that guy.
Carlos Santana.
Carlos Santana, yes, sir.
We'll hit on that. I mean, again, I'm sure you weren't expecting to go into the wonderful records of Monk Higgins today, but we did, and I'm be smiling all the way, baby. So yeah, we'll put down. We got more to do, man, and much love to you, Benny. Keep swinging, and we'll be in touch, man.
Yes, Jake.
Yes, sir.
You have yourself a good day, okay?
Yeah, bless you, brother. Keep the love, man.
Yep, keeping the blues alive.
That's right, man. Later on.
All right.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye.
Thanks to our Zach Wagner for connecting me with Benny Turner. Just an absolutely tremendous individual, amazing musician, and most definitely a better human being. We'll be back on the other side with Norm Harris right after this.
Sometimes I wanted to die, but if I have your sweet, sweet love, I know I'll get by. This whole world is turning like wheels on a train. I hold on to each moment that it won't come again. Let me tell you, I'm not educated, but it's one thing I know, that I'd rather be blind than to see you go. All right, I thank God for a strong woman who knows how to be weak and to make